So I'm going to be looking at Silence of the Lambs opening title, so I'll be looking at the first 2 minutes of the film. This is where I'll see the titles and also a little bit of the movie itself. I decided that it would be a good movie to look at given that it's a psychological thriller and I'm trying to create a psychological thriller. It's meant to be one of the best psychological thrillers out there, and so it seemed like a good movie to look at. Here we go. So the first thing that we see is an ident. It's central to the screen, which automatically makes it quite aesthetically pleasing. It provides us with information such as the name of the production company, or at least one of them, their website. The line is the only part of the ident which is animated. It's quite simplistic, yeah, it's very sophisticated in that it's just set on a black background rather. It's got gold aspects and it uses quite simplistic, easy to read writing, so it's quite effective. The lion is the only part of the ident which moves. Again, yeah, just emphasising it's quite simple, but it is effective. The screen then fades to black. So you can then see to the left hand side of the screen some graphics which move to then eventually create the ident. We have to just presume that this is a partner company. So just like with the first ident that we saw, it's central to the screen and it fades after a short moment. So it doesn't take up too much screen time, it gives us enough time to be able to read the name of the production company. So then the first shot that we see is of like a forest. There's some trees that obstruct a view of like the distance. All you can see is the trees, which are quite black. The low level lighting connotes darker themes perhaps in the rest of the movie. This is a very still shot, so it doesn't make you feel very disorientated or anything. It allows you to get a sense of what the movie's going to be like without having to see much of the graphics. So we instantly know that there's rural areas being used in the movie, which is a convention of horrors, thrillers, psychological thrillers, that kind of thing. Then the location appears in the bottom right hand corner. This is underlined, which emphasises its importance. So it just ensures that the audience, me, will recognise it, acknowledge it, and see that it's there, read it, and take that in as part of the movie. So here we see quite simplistic text being used on top of the still shot. This again acknowledges a partner production company. The text is black with a white outline, which makes it stand out, and it's also quite easy to read because it's such simplistic writing. This text is then used to show the names of the actors starring in the film. I read up on a few critics that suggested that this writing was quite plain and didn't boast how great the movie was, but then you have other critics who will argue against that, saying that it only emphasises the themes within the movie and that it's meant to make you feel a bit uneasy and as though the movie's not exactly what you think it is going to be. Is that okay? The camera then begins to tilt downwards, so we presume that anything below eye level is going to be insignificant, and we really get a sense that as an audience we are there to view the film as sort of an onlooker looking into something. you could say that this creates distance between the audience and what's involved, but later shots contradict that idea. So we then see the first character appear, which is a female. We see her climbing up a hill using a rope. This could be symbolic of how she uses tools to her advantage and plays on strengths and things to help her get to where she wants to be. It's also symbolic of her overcoming something, because she comes over the top of the hill, as you'll see just in this later bit. All the while she appears underneath the text, so the text is never obscuring your view of her. We then hear birds in the distance, which she draws her attention to. She's of the left-hand side of the screen, not central to it, suggesting she's perhaps not the main character, or at least there's going to be other characters which will push her out of the scene slightly. Then we come to a shot from the back where she is central to the screen, but she's running away from us, or at least that's what some people might perceive it as. The camera is slightly shaky, which then makes us feel as though we're part of the movie, because when you're jogging you'll be shaking up and down, so we could be jogging alongside her. There's a long shot here of the back of her. Perhaps she's running away from something. That's what you can note from this. The titles here, it's notable that the titles seem to be getting more rapid. And there's a side shot of her running quite fast through the trees, and you could say there's a dirty shot's being used here because the trees obscure your view from her slightly. This carries on for a couple of seconds until we get a mid shot of her feet. This just emphasises how she is running from something, just reinforces the idea of running. And this is quite it's not a close-up shot, but it's pretty close. It's a close to mid shot of the female's face. This makes her more identifiable. We can see parts of her features, we can see the sweat on her face, the way her hair's blowing in the wind. It's all quite intimate. And I think this has been used here to make us feel at one with that character, and as though we can get to know more about her. We then revert back to the shot of her from the back, mid-shot, her running away just of her torso. Then I love this shot. It's where she comes to some netting and she's climbing over it. As the camera spins round, it's a very continuous shot, it's nice and smooth. Perhaps like a tracker, like the tracking has been used to go round the side of the obstacle just to make it smoother, but it's a really nice shot. And as you're coming round, the light sort of flickers on the camera and obscures your view slightly. It's something that's used in film a lot when somebody's like dying, or when you want to show something that's quite clinical. Therefore, later on in the movie, we see different sort of clinical scenes, which again is a convention of a psychological thriller, and it's interesting that it's been used here alongside her in the natural world. There's lots of natural imagery, and this same idea of clinical is being taken into this environment, which seems quite bizarre. And again, we see her going up and over something, just like she did with the hill. Perhaps again, symbolic that she's getting over hurdles. And the way that she quite abruptly flops down off of the netting suggests that maybe she encounters some struggles in her journey to get over obstacles and overcome fears and whatever else. And then it fades to black. Yep, so that's my analysis of Silence of the Lambs opening titles.